Good evening, everyone. If I can just want to welcome everyone here on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the Marshfield Housing Partnership. We thought this evening, we put this together really to get into what is affordable housing. You know, even though we've been very aggressive in Marshfield with affordable housing, we've had a number of 40Bs. I won't characterize them as friendly, but at the end of the day, you know, everyone was able to sit down and we were able to come to agreement through mitigation to provide, you know, affordable housing, which is desperately needed. So in talking about that, the selectmen, the partnership, and myself thought that we should invite folks in, because we hear all the time questions, you know, what's affordable housing? Who's eligible for affordable housing? What qualifies as affordable housing? Potential funding sources, because, you know, for the most part, we've had people come in for, you know, come in for the 40B, and they come in as characterized as unfriendly 40B because when the town's not at the table with the developer. We are at the table for negotiation. So, you know, the goal of this symposium tonight is to learn what types of affordable housing is needed in Marshfield, what is the best approach to affordable housing, who will qualify for affordable housing, funding sources, and why affordable housing matters to the business community, because that's also key. First and foremost, people need a place to live, they need a safe place, a clean place, and home ownership. Although a lot of the affordable housing are apartments, as I always said when I was a selectman, people don't go to sleep at night with their family and children wishing, as they fall off to sleep, that they can rent an apartment. They really wish to have home ownership. And tonight we're very fortunate. We have a number of agencies here who specialize in that. And we're very happy to have them with us in just a few minutes after we get through a few speakers. Welcome here, and we'll get into that. We have CHAPA, we have NeighborWorks, we have the Marshfield Housing Authority, which really is the Quincy Housing Authority. They manage the Marshfield Housing Authority. And we have the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. So I think we have a nice cross-section. We're hoping the DHCD, they've been invited, we're hoping maybe that they'll show up also. And if they do, we'll hear from them. So at this time, I will stop talking and I will invite up Lynn Fiddler to come up. Lynn is our newest select board member, and Lynn would like to say a few words.
Was the election yesterday? I'm sorry, was the election
I see a few familiar faces. Thank you all for coming out this evening. Yesterday was election day, and I don't know about you, but we were kind of glued to our TVs last night and the full moon and all of that, so I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. This is the beginning for myself as a select board member here in the town of Marshfield. I was the chair of the ZBA for a period of time, and I have that background. I was part of the 40B comprehensive permit process, and so I know a little bit about the affordable housing from that aspect. But I think as we all go through the process here of becoming part of the town of Marshfield and understanding where we're heading in the future and the importance of housing. I have children. I am lucky enough to have a daughter that's a nurse that lives here in town, and a son that ended up in Plymouth, and a daughter ending up in Kingston. So I understand the importance to our families to have places for these young folks to be part of the fabric of our towns. But I also understand that the importance of affordable housing brings another aspect into our community and how we go about going through our daily process as far as going to the grocery store, whatever we do, and how we go about that process. So I really appreciate everybody coming together, because it always, as you know, begins by all of us sitting here and having a conversation, asking some great questions, and understanding what the guy next door or the woman next door has to say about something, because I think that brings us all into perspective of where we're heading in the future And affordable housing is one of the most important things we can do here in the town of Marshfield to just keep our town successful and welcoming. And so I'm really happy that you're all here tonight, and I'm all ears, so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, and I really welcome you coming to this. So I appreciate all of you being here, so thank you for that. And that's it. So we'll follow this up, I'm sure, at another time after this evening, and thank you for being here, and thank you for Michael for helping us through this process.
Great.
So enjoy the rest.
Thank you, Lynn. Just so what we'll do is, I'm gonna invite Martine Anderson up to speak. She is the Marshfield Housing Partnership, and the Housing Partnership has done some really great things. We had an MHOP program. We work with the banks to get people to qualify. We're looking to build some of our own affordable housing, and Martine's been doing a great job as the chair. So at this time, I'd like to invite up Martine Anderson to say a few words.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, everybody, for coming. A long time ago, I ran for the Housing Authority and served my 5-year term. And when I left that particular position, the Community Preservation Act had been adopted here in Marshfield, and a committee was set up, the Community Preservation Committee. And with the Preservation Act money, 10% of the money that comes as a result of voting to tax the people who live in town, 3% on their real estate taxes, to create affordable housing, fund for open space, recreation, and historic, give me the mic, give me the word. Preservation. Thank you. Sorry about that. So, it became a program that was going to benefit Marshfield in many, many ways, not just in affordable housing. So we got busy, and we created the Housing Partnership, which comes with the duties of having accepted the CPA Act within our town. So every year there's money, 10% of what comes in came to us, and we started thinking of ways that we could spend that money to create affordable housing. We hired a gentleman named Jack Mather who designed a program. We gave people down payment money. People who are in the affordable categories generally don't have any means or any way of saving for a down payment. And our down payments were available, and the prospective customers would come get the information they needed and then go out into the community and see if they could find a house themselves. We didn't go around with them or hold their hands. And when they decided they could probably find a home, they would go themselves to a bank. And with the help of our local bankers, they would help that family or that person develop exactly what the maximum amount of money they could invest in a home that bank would provide a mortgage for. Now, I know that sounds simplistic to tell you this, but it was just an amazing adventure. And we provided down payment money for people to be willing to buy a home or a condo and have the deed restricted so that the home would be forever, in perpetuity, affordable and to affordable families coming along when this family decided to move. So there are other ways that we have spent our money, but that's the most exciting one to me. And we have worked with Habitat for Humanity. We have now we're trying to embark on a program with the town to take a town-owned property and raise the poorhouse that's just falling in. Remove that and see whether or not we can create a couple of units of affordable housing. We're also delighted with all of our senior housing in town that has come about with affordable units. that go with the 40B programs, as you know. There are many other ways that you all spent your money, and that I will follow up by saying, today, a person who earns 80% of the median is considered a candidate for affordable housing. That means anybody that earns under $80,000 a year. Most of our firemen, policemen, teachers, people who work in town, nurses, they all will be, they're qualified because they don't make that kind of money. So we're talking about the average person in today's world that is classified as belonging to a group that needs affordable housing. Now, some of my neighbors think that affordable housing means that we're going to have, people coming into living among them that are not respectable or earning their respect. And that is so far from the truth. It troubles me that when I think people believe that. But if we can spread the word that almost everybody in today's world practically is going to be qualified or able to apply for an affordable home. That's why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Martine, and thank you for the great work that the partnership does. I do want to recognize Fred Monaco's here from the partnership, Terry Richardson's here from the partnership, and also from the Housing Authority. So thank you to both of you for the great work that you do. Just before Martine mentioned some figures, and I did check Greg Guimond's here. He's our town planner for folks that don't know him. He'll be here tonight to answer any questions that need to be answered. He's an incredible resource for information. And he was kind enough to prepare I want to just put some of this information out for you to think about as you're listening to the speakers talk this evening. Income limit in September of 2022 for a single person is $78,300. For a family of 4, it's $112,150. Now, that you match up against the rental of a 1-bedroom is $2,097. A 2-bedroom, $2,517, and a 3-bedroom, $2,908. When 40B projects are being developed, they take on the process, identify placing people that meet the affordable requirements. And I know that Martine mentioned Jack was our housing coordinator, and he did a fantastic job and was the impetus behind the MHOP program that we had here. It was very successful in putting people into actual homes. Currently, we're officially at 821 affordable units. We're missing, we have to get the 8 units of veteran housing added to that. That will give us approximately 829, 830 units, which would put us at 8.4% of that 10% the community should have. The number will change, Greg wanted me to mention, the number will change when they calculate the 2020 census figures get in there. Because there'll be 10 years of new construction, and that will adjust the numbers a little. Also, we get an additional 270 more affordable units from the Mill Creek, which was just permitted by the ZBA. And my guess is that we'll be in the 8% range once adjusted for the 2020 census. So I think those are important facts to think about, the need, the cost, etc. So at this time, I would like to invite up Dana Winter from CHAPA. She's our first presenter. What we're going to do is we'll hear from all the speakers, and then at the end, the goal is to have questions. And people, so you can start thinking your questions as people begin. So with that, Dana.
Okay. Yes, I'm up first. Hello everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Great. So my name's Dana LeWinter. I'm the Director of Municipal Engagement at Citizens Housing and Planning Association, or CHAPA as we're more commonly known. And you can learn more about our organization at chapa.org, but at the core of our work, we believe that every person in Massachusetts should have a safe, healthy, and affordable place to call home. And beyond that, we believe that housing is at the center of the hub of work needed to create healthy, equitable, affordable, and vibrant communities. So we understand that the benefits of providing ample affordable housing and the consequences of not permeate the whole community, not just the individual outcomes for that person who may be lucky enough or privileged enough to end up in the homes that we create. And we also understand that housing stability is really core to gaining access to broader opportunities, because having a quality, affordable home then extends to, it's a driver of your individual and community success. Unfortunately, as has been noted here, Massachusetts has among the highest and fastest growing home prices and rents of any state. To put it in perspective, in Massachusetts, nearly 1 in 2 renters and 1 in 3 homeowners cannot afford their current housing costs, leaving them at risk of foreclosure or eviction, or having to make really tough choices about how they spend their money. So we're very far behind in meeting our needs, and one of the reasons why is that I'll talk a little bit about a study called Neighborhood Defenders. So researchers from BU found that in reviewing thousands of hours of public meetings and examining who was making comments on housing developments, commenters were overwhelmingly opposed to new housing developments, even if that wasn't the sentiment of the community as a whole. Those were the people who were motivated to come out and speak. And they also weren't necessarily representative of the community overall. They were more likely to be older, white, male, and homeowner, as opposed to the people who might actually benefit from the housing that is to be created. So this Neighborhood Defenders research really uncovers this legacy of nearly a century of discriminatory housing policies. So many of the housing conditions we take for granted today, we assume they're accidental, but actually they're the results of decades of policies at the federal, state, and local level. So we really work to undo those. We believe that we need 200,000 new homes by 2030, including 40,000 affordable and 20,000 deeply affordable, so for people who are at the lowest income levels. And you were mentioning before, it's not just about those homes. We think it's critical to our long-term success of our environment, our health, our children's education, our economy, and wealth building. So we work across a platform of what we call our 4 Ps, and I'm going to just give a quick intro to each of those, and happy to chat more with everyone later. Planning is the first one up, and right now the biggest piece of this planning effort is a new law, 3A, or the multifamily zoning requirements for MBTA communities. I'm sure many of you have been part of those conversations in your communities. It is the most significant change to zoning in more than 40 years in Massachusetts. And it's going to make it possible to zone for and then therefore create the kinds of homes we need to reduce car dependency, support local businesses, and help stabilize rent and home prices. So all communities served by the MBTA must zone to allow for multifamily housing as of right, with a greater obligation for communities that have better access to transit stations. So just quickly, Marshfield is an adjacent community, meaning you don't have a specific transit station here. And as a result, you must create and approve an as-of-right zoning district with a capacity of at least 1,158 units of multifamily housing. That's zoning for the capacity, not actual creation of, to be clear. And there's a lot of technical assistance out there available to communities to adopt that zoning. And I'm guessing Katie Lacey, when she talks from MHP, will be speaking a bit about that. But it's really an opportunity to advance local goals, not just around creating more multifamily housing or more housing options, but around affordability, sustainability, and fair housing and inclusion. In addition to the multifamily zoning requirement, when we work around planning, we are talking about establishing statewide and local housing production goals, establishing multifamily zoning in every community, even beyond those that are served by the MBTA, and establishing effective inclusionary zoning in every community. Our next P is production. So we actually have to produce the homes. Once we've zoned or planned, we need to produce the homes that we need. And we do much of this work by working to increase funding for affordable housing development. We also work to make rental assistance available to as many eligible households as possible, supporting new homeownership programs, as Martine was speaking about, encouraging local communities to prioritize the funding that they have for affordable housing, and identifying new revenue sources for affordable housing development. Our third P is preservation, so we need to take action to preserve the homes that we have today, as well as the ability for people to stay in their communities. Towards this goal, we work to protect our public housing, keep it safe, and functioning, and keep the units up so that people have a safe place to live. We work to ensure emergency assistance for families. This was critical throughout COVID-19 to help people stay in their homes when they may not have been able to work. And working on protections for residents against displacement, eviction, and foreclosure. And lastly, we invest in our people, our fourth P. We understand that for everyone to thrive, we have to invest in the people and the places that historically have not been served, and for whom the market and zoning has not and simply won't provide opportunities. So we do this by helping people buy their first home, especially in communities of color, to close the racial home ownership gap. It includes building more affordable home ownership opportunities, providing down payment and other home buying assistance, home buying counseling and education, and making sure our fair housing laws are being enforced and strengthened. And so at the local level where my program works, we seek to have an impact by increasing public participation. So going back to that Neighborhood Defenders research, we understand that we need to make sure that people who support housing are coming out, making their voices heard, and asking to see more of that in their communities. So our role is to bring together diverse coalitions to support that in local communities. And we try to make the conversation around affordable housing more positive, empower those who are impacted by the lack of affordable housing, those who would actually be served, and help to elevate those pro-housing voices above the noise of their opponents. And ultimately, we hope that will result in local communities actually producing and planning and preserving the housing that they have. So we believe that these solutions are within reach, and it will take a lot of intentional efforts, but we can do that together. And so I look forward to working with all of you. I'm excited to see Marshfield taking a proactive approach on this, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dana, for that great information, and I'm sure that we'll have some great questions afterwards. At this time, I would like to invite up Rob Corley. Rob Corley's from NeighborWorks, and they do a great job of managing properties for affordability. Rob Corley.
Thanks, Mike. My name is Rob Corley, and I'm the CEO of NeighborWorks Housing Solutions. And I really want to applaud Marshfield for putting on a forum like this. I wish it continues to impress me how much Marshfield cares about affordable housing and these issues, and continues to push the agenda. I wish every community would step up as Marshfield has been doing, both with funds and programs and forums like this. Before I tell you a little bit about NeighborWorks, I just wanted to say sort of plainly, we have a housing crisis of epic proportions in Massachusetts. I mean, a real humanitarian crisis. Every town, every city, the whole state. And it's getting worse and worse. People don't like to talk to me at parties. That can be a little depressing. Or at least that's the excuse I use, is what I talk about. But it's bad. It's really bad. It's bad here in Marshfield. It's not somewhere else. It's not in the big cities. It's here in Marshfield. I was in Bristol County Community College this morning with another forum with a whole bunch of other people that care about these issues, and everyone is looking for solutions. The name of our organization is Housing Solutions. We're searching for them. It's very hard. So we put one foot in front of the other. We do what we can. We attend forums like these, and we try to make sure that people are aware of what we're talking about. One other example I'll give you is just on Monday morning. I was at the Patriots game on Sunday, and I got a text message from a senator that a 85-year-old couple,
Naturally, of course.
disabled veteran and his wife,
Of course, yeah.
living in a home in Easton for 58 years, were being evicted from that home that was foreclosed on Monday morning. Never heard of this before. We help a lot of folks, and we're available to a lot of households. Never heard of the couple, never heard of the situation. Arrived there on Monday morning, met the couple, they haven't packed a fork, underwear, nothing. And the constable was there, doing his job. Moving trucks were there, and tried to get a stay at the Fall River Court that morning, unsuccessful, and they are homeless in a hotel tonight. That happens every day, every town, everywhere, and especially to seniors lately. The boomers are a huge population, and many of them are very much struggling on their fixed incomes when the cost of everything is skyrocketing. Food, utilities, never mind rent, everything. And they can't afford. Their fixed incomes are here, and everything keeps going up. We all feel it, we all know it, but they don't have any options. And so every day, every week, more and more, all the politicians will tell you the phones are ringing off the hook, people are showing up, they doubled my rent, I can't afford it anymore, what am I going to do? You've all heard about the hotels. You heard about the hotels? Every shelter bed in the state is full.
That's right.
Every family shelter bed in the state is full. It just got cold tonight, I think, or maybe last night. They're already full. So this is big. It's bigger than I've ever seen it. I've been doing it for 25 years. I've never seen anything as sort of stark as it is right now. So anything that Marshfield can do, any units, any homes, anything you can do for your own residents or anybody else is greatly appreciated and needed more than ever at this time. So I applaud you for having this forum. Briefly at NeighborWorks, we do everything there is to do with housing. We do the best we can, but I'll highlight a few things. We do real estate development for special needs projects and folks like the Veterans Home here in Marshfield. That is not possible to do that without local support, local funding. That would not be possible without what happened here in Marshfield. It's an amazing facility and amazing support. So thank you for that. Prince Grant is a senior facility we have here that we developed and we own. We also manage these properties. And we have about 1,200 units in the region that we own and manage. Different types. Large, brand new, beautiful developments like those fancy apartment buildings you see from time to time. We have those, and we have very small, single-family, special needs types projects for adults with developmental disabilities and everything in between. Every different financing type, every different type of ownership and partnership you can imagine. We try our best to do it all. But there's only sort of two ways out of this. You either build enough units or you have subsidies that can help people in the market go out and afford their own apartment, their own place to live. That's it. And we can have policy changes to produce more, and hopefully policy changes to provide more subsidy. We administer Section 8 and MRVP in the region. We have about 4,000 households that we service in the region, many of which are in Marshfield. We also have a family domestic violence shelter program where in and among the community here, you wouldn't know it, we have about 40 scattered site apartments that are anonymous, where we place families fleeing, mostly women and children, domestic violence issues. That's all happening here, but most people don't know it. We also provide construction management and project management services to other nonprofits that do this work, that don't necessarily have the development or real estate development acumen. So we help other groups do this work that don't have the staff capacity, and we do that across the region. We also provide housing resources, what we call HCEC, or the Housing Consumer Education Center. So anyone with a housing issue of any type, unfortunately, the family I mentioned, that the disabled veterans, didn't call us. If you know of anyone, I think every one of us has a family member or a friend with this issue. They can call us, and if we can't help them, we'll find someone that can. We also administer RAFT, which is a huge program for families facing eviction. And we administer that up to about $4 million a month goes through our organization out into the community, into the region, every month. And that was as high as $10 million in the last year, a month. So the need is huge. We also, for homeowners, we administer the HALF program, which I think you might hear, MHP, funnels that money through organizations like ours to help folks that are in a single-family home or home ownership, like the couple I mentioned, that would have been eligible for it, could have helped them. That money's available, so please spread the word. If people are having any trouble with their mortgage, they should contact us, or the utilities. Both renters and homeowners. We have funds for them. Last couple of things, I'll say that we have a CDFI program. So first-time home buyers, we educate about 2,000 home buyers a year, help them buy their first home. And they're of all ages. Don't just think young people, they're all ages. If you haven't owned a home in 3 years, you're a first-time home buyer. You're eligible for down payment assistance. You can come to us for education. And there's a variety of down payment programs from Mass Housing and MHP and others, up to $50,000 in down payment assistance to help people buy homes in this crazy market. And we are, as a CDFI, we also provide lending to single-family homeowners. If you need accessibility work done to your home, if you're a senior living in a home that you cannot get up and down and in, we can help you with that. Provide 0% financing, second mortgage money, no payments, no interest on the home. Adults or families that have children with developmental disabilities and sensory issues, we can help them renovate their homes, 0% deferred money that we have. Get the lead out money. Anybody who has lead paint in their home, come to us for 0% deferred money. A variety of different programs for single family homeowners here in the community. And we're a HUD certified counseling agency. So the staff that we have work very hard, they're stretched, but they're helping a lot of people with these housing issues every day, and they're certified to do so. Anytime you call us, we can help. Last thing I'll say is Massachusetts is one of the best states in the country, and we're part of a national network.
Here, here.
And we have amazing resources here. Everything I'm talking to you about is not mine or ours. This is a program that we administer that someone else,
Right.
or that the legislator or one of these wonderful agencies that we partner with has made available to all of us. We always need more. We need to be more efficient. But when you look at Massachusetts, one of its problems, its businesses, is when you talk to anybody that runs a biotech firm or all these very intelligent young people that want to work here and live here and thrive here, they can't afford to live here. It's too expensive. Affordable housing is the #1 issue for this state. Don't think that it isn't. It is. And if we don't get very competitive very soon, no one's going to want to live here anymore. The boomers are gone. The millennials are here. They're choosing now where they want to live, and they can't afford to live here. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for that great information. It's also very sad to hear, but that happens every single day about that poor couple. And, you know, thank God they have a roof over their head. There's somewhere that's warm. It's because of agencies like the people that are here this evening talking to us, educating us, and sharing real-life stories so that people understand how significant this is, how important it is to have affordable housing, and how important it is to have a safety network. Before I introduce my next speaker, so I met Rob many years ago in my days working with the legislature up at the State House with Secretary Galvin, but Rob's been in the town. I feel like he's part of town government. He was involved with that veterans housing project that we have. We had that beautiful, and it was a real partnership with NeighborWorks, Father Bill's, with the town, with the housing partnership, and the town really putting some skin in the game, and, you know, coming up with $600,000. But I wanted to recognize Karen Paulette, who's here. She's sitting right there, our veterans
good.
agent, and she
Yeah.
works with these issues all the time, and she works with NeighborWorks to make sure that we have that beautiful home and we can get people in there, so thank you, Karen. At this time, I would like to invite up James Marathis. Now, James Marathis is a Marshfield resident. James Marathis is the executive director of the Quincy Housing Authority, and the Quincy Housing Authority manages the Marshfield Housing Authority properties. And I can tell you that since James has come on, there has been a drastic change to the way our property looks, to how quickly improvements get done, to the morale of the people that are living there, because the facilities themselves look better, they smell better, and people are very happy. So with that, James Marathis.
Thanks, Mikey. So good evening, everyone. First, I want to say that I echo Rob's statement about, I applaud everybody coming out tonight. This is a huge start, and Mike, thank you for putting it together. Making everybody aware of the problems that we face every day with people and their need for housing. So as Mike stated, I am the executive director for the Quincy Housing Authority, also the Hingham Housing Authority, the Hanson Housing Authority, and the Marshfield Housing Authority. Altogether, we manage just about 3,750 units. 1,600 of those we operate and own in the city of Quincy, and then about 1,800 vouchers, 125 units in Hingham, about 125 units in Hanson, and then about 125 units here in Marshfield. As far as the income goes, I know what the 80% of AMI looks like. Our tenants, the average income of our tenants is $29,450 a year.
Right.
So our tenants are living on bare bones. And when they see the prices of things today, you see the cost of everything. I mean, our tenants are struggling just to buy groceries and just to survive. And, you know, thank God they have a roof over their head. We also have 25 vouchers in Marshfield. 8 of those vouchers are at the Veterans Home. We administer the 8 vouchers that are at the Veterans Home. And then we have another 16 vouchers that are throughout the town of Marshfield. We do a lot with partnerships. Neighborhood Works is one of the partners that we work with. We work with Father Bills very closely. We also administer the vouchers in the Veterans Home in Hingham as well. Right now, I ran the list today. On our waiting list for the town of Marshfield, we have 8,022 people on the waiting list. 8,022 people on our waiting list right now. Of that 8,022, 5,410 of them are families. There's 5,410 families waiting to move into Marshfield into affordable housing. And then there's 2,960 elderly people that are on that waiting list. Of the 2,960 of the elderly, 1,283 of them are elderly, and 1,676 of them need handicap accessibility. And then there's 506 people currently on the waiting list for congregate housing, which we have the 4 congregates up at Grace Ryder. So backing up a little bit, what are the properties that we have in Marshfield? We manage T-Rock Gardens, which has 64 units there at T-Rock Gardens, and then we have 8 family units in the back of T-Rock Gardens. We have 33 units at Grace Ryder, and then we have 10 family scattered 705 units. We call them 705 units. It's 10 scattered family homes that are throughout the town of Marshfield. So for us, it's, you know, like Mike said, we've been struggling to get all the work done that needed to get done that was deferred in Marshfield. When you have these small agencies, it's very, very difficult for them to survive. When we took over Marshfield, they had 2 maintenance staff and 1 person working in the office. And there's no human possible way for those people to take care of the units and to do the work that needs to be done to provide safety, sanitary housing for these people. It's impossible. And then as every year goes by, the state reporting requirements escalate by the day. You've got to report vacancies, you got to report utilities, you got to report spending, you got to do procurement, you got to do lists for the waiting list, you got to recertify all the tenants every year, and you got one person sitting in an office trying to do all these tasks, plus take care of the people that live there. It's virtually impossible. So when we took over the smaller agencies, the change in the dynamic and the way that things were being run just changes so dramatically, because you go from having 3 employees to having 100 employees. So now the Marshfield Housing Authority technically has 100 employees. You would never be able to afford that given the budget that they operate under. But now when we need an electrician, we have 2 licensed electricians. We send an electrician down here. When you need a plumber, we send down a real plumber. Real painters, real carpenters, real plasterers. All of the trades are represented, and it makes a huge difference on being able to do the improvements and to take care of the property. The other big thing that we've been able to do is we get basically 2 pots of money a year from the state. One pot is for capital and one pot is for operating. And they're very, very small pots when you only have 125 units. So what we've done is we've eliminated putting that work out to bid, and we've been doing a lot of the work ourselves.
Right.
And by doing the work ourselves, we've been able to do about 3 times the work a year that they used to be able to do with that little budget. So when you hire a contractor, you have to pay the overhead, you have to pay the design fee, you have to pay all the, the rates, and the cost of a project just grows so quickly that it limits the amount of work that they're able to do. So by us doing the work ourselves, we're able to just get so much more work done with the small little.
Putting on an
that we
RFP
get.
alone,
Right.
is huge.
Yeah. The cost of bidding itself is
Right.
off the charts. So we're able to eliminate a lot of that by doing the work. For us, the biggest challenge has been the way that the state changed the waiting list. Back in 2018, the state came out with this new centralized waiting list called CHAMP. And it's everything but a winner. It's not a champ. It should be called loser. And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that, but we deal with it every day. The problem is the way that we have to fill units now is far different from before. We used to have a Marshfield waiting list, and we would certify people, and we would pre-scan them, and we would go through all the certification and have them all ready to move into units. They're like staged and ready to move in. Well, now we have to wait till we get the vacant unit, and we have to run these lists from a statewide waiting list. And from that statewide waiting list, we mail out about 125 packages for 1 unit. 125 full packages just to certify 1 person to move into a vacant unit. So what used to take us a day to fill a unit, it now takes us about 90 days to fill a unit. So, so this state system has really flipped public housing upside down, and every executive director throughout the state is faced with these ridiculous challenges to be able to put people in the units. But with that being said, on a good note, we have been focusing all of our energy the last several years to really building the supportive services that we can bring to these residents. Given the fact that they're living on almost nothing, we have tried to really bridge the Housing Authority to other agencies, and like we have Greater Boston Food Bank, we do deliveries every month. We bring a free bag of groceries to every resident every month, so they get a full free bag of groceries. We hired an elderly support coordinator that goes out and helps them if they have issues of you know, if they need to be bridged to other services, we work hard to bridge them to other services and preserve their tenancy. We have a family support coordinator. We have an FSS program to help them build self-sufficiency. So we've really tried to focus a lot of our budget and a lot of our energy on how can we support these residents, not just provide them with housing, which public housing, that's what it used to be. It used to be a roof over your head. We're trying to increase the services that we provide to people and try to improve their lives and try to eliminate that isolation stigma that folks get when they move into public housing. They tend to stay in their units and not come out of their units. And we encourage them to come out. We try to have holiday parties. We try to do things that will help them be able to enjoy their lives and interact. One of the big things that we just got awarded last week was we just got awarded a taxi grant. So the Housing Authority, through the Quincy Housing Authority, we didn't get it through Marshfield, but we're going to share it.
That's okay.
We were able to get a grant for $144,000, and that grant is going to be an open ticket for taxi rides for all of our residents. So for the next 3 months, our residents are going to be able to call a local taxi company. They're going to be able to go anywhere they want, and we're going to foot the bill for it, just to get people out and out of their homes after what they just went through with COVID and now every other thing that is out there is scary for older people. So we're trying to do what we can to help them and to get them out and back into the community again. So that's about everything that I have, and if you have any questions, I have Laura, who's our Assistant Executive Director, here with us tonight. Laura and I both used to work together at the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, where we both shared many years there and worked together, and then we left, and when I went to Quincy, I begged and pleaded.
You poached her, is what you did.
I absolutely stole her, and I don't regret it. So,
I don't either.
so that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, James, and I think James really identifies the problem beyond affordable housing is, I think the taxi cab is great. We don't have taxis here. We do have the GATRA, but, that is important, being able to get people out, making sure that people don't feel isolated when they're here, with this the CHAMP list, which I do hear horror stories about it from my colleagues in other communities. They're displacing people from, you may be in Marshfield, but when you come up, you may have to go to some other community. It could be some other South Shore community. It could be somewhere in Worcester County or Western Massachusetts. It all depends. So that's why it's important that really communication and agencies working together, and it's through the talented people that work with our legislators and up on Beacon Hill to get laws and get funding to make sure that the most vulnerable part of our society are taken care of. So next up is Catherine Lacey, and Catherine is from the Mass Housing Partnership.
Thank you.
Your town administrator told me he's a stickler for time, so I'm the last one here. I'll try to keep it quick. I'm going to just start with a few words about what Mass Housing Partnership is. I wasn't quite sure what this event was going to be, but I am so excited. I just have to say, James, in a former life, I was the planning director in Hingham for many, many years, and I am so thrilled with this consolidation of the housing authorities. I just can't even tell you. That is a real evolution, guys. So that's great news. Mass Housing Partnership is a quasi-state agency. That means we're not paid for with taxpayer dollars. At its heart, it's not at its heart, the engine, let's just say, it's a rental financing agency. We subsidize affordable rental housing and mixed income housing. We've spent about $1 billion in bank funds and other capital sources through a unique law in Massachusetts where banks that merge send a certain amount of money to us. We've also then developed a line of credit with the usual suspects. But everything we subsidize is rental housing, and it has to have a certain affordable component. We have a loan portfolio of close to 300 developments around the state. It's tens of thousands of units. And we have been running the state subsidized housing emergency rental assistance fund, SHERA, which became very useful during COVID, as a lot of people benefited from that. I'm going to keep going quickly. We have another division, the home ownership group. We've helped over 24,000 low and moderate income households buy their first home, and again, that could be 3 years, through the soft second and one mortgage program. These are amazing loan programs that, they're trying to get more people into their first home, and they've done more to address the racial gap in home ownership than just about any other program out there, I'd say. They have also been administrating the Homeowners Assistance Fund for homeowners who've fallen behind on their mortgage. This was part of the federal stimulus package that came out after the pandemic. And they've just been so busy bailing people out to prevent things like, we work with NeighborWorks as one of our agents to do this across the state. We have a Center for Housing Data, which is an amazing resource which conducts research, analysis about housing issues around the state. They have some amazing tools. If I had slides, there's a data town where you can just look up anything in your house, in your community. I was able to just at a glance on my iPad right before here, your population has leveled off since 2000. I'm talking Marshfield, guys. You have, your school population actually is declining. Your school-age population is declining a little. You're suffering from a huge decline in 34 to 44-year-olds. Yep. There are not young families. I was able to find that all while sort of distracting myself on my iPad in seconds. And you have an enormous growth in your 60-plus population, right, as you know. Yep. This isn't good for your economy here. We've got to take care of our seniors. That's true all over the place. But you've got to provide a wide diversity of housing. So then I'll just touch upon my role, and I go by Katie Lacius. I'm with the Community Assistance Division. I'm the senior planner. And we take all this and work with communities at the community level, housing authorities and nonprofits looking to increase affordable housing. So the origins of the Community Assistance Program, I think, was working with communities that have a piece of land. How do we turn that, town-owned land into housing, or, issuing an RFP, sort of walking through that process. Since then, the role has really expanded. We have a fantastic person who works with housing trusts, making them as viable and active and effective as possible. And we have a 40B technical assistance program that provides just sort of like a quarterback to go help towns navigate the 40B process. We've worked with over 300 towns doing that. And we are now one of the main technical assistance providers around this MBTA communities zoning, which 175 communities in Massachusetts are going to be dealing with, and whether we like it or not, we're here to help. So that's sort of where we come from. We're kind of trying to meet people where they are and make this as easy as possible. I did just want to say the work of community assistance, and my work in particular, is really coalescing around zoning as a big problem. This conversation is focused so much on affordable housing. We need affordable housing. We need housing, guys. We need more housing. We need more housing diversity. And when I look at, I glanced before I came here, when I look at Marshfield's housing production plan and then your zoning map, there's a problem. You've got a lot of your town zoned, most of your town zoned for single family housing, A lot of it is acre zoning, and I'm a South Shore person myself. I know there's this urge to keep it rural, and I applaud that. I think open space preservation is the way to go. 1 acre zoning is not the way to go. That's the way to get McMansions. That's the only thing you can afford to build on 1 acre. Smaller lot zoning, which you have a certain amount of 10,000 square foot lots, our lot sizes have gone up. So we're running out of time here. South Shore Chamber of Commerce did a fabulous study on housing in the South Shore, where they're really concerned about business health down here because of the lack of housing, the lack of young families. Employers are choosing not to come here, let's just put it that way. And sure, we all work remote, but in terms of tax dollars to a municipality, having a commercial base is essential. To have a commercial base, you have to have employees. Employees have to have homes. The cycle goes round and round. You need apartments, you need townhouses. You don't need it all over your town. You need it in certain areas, and I think we can do this together. The Boston Fed came out with a fantastic study recently that actually local zoning laws in the supply, it's about local zoning laws in Massachusetts, that actually they finally kind of correlated that that restrictive zoning causes housing prices to go up. There's a direct correlation. Relaxing zoning causes housing prices to go down. So this is, it's a supply and demand argument. Believe me, I think we need more restricted, affordable housing, but we also just need more housing. We need it all. And then finally, the Greater Boston Housing Report Card. I just went to this presentation. All this stuff I'll send links to you guys. The suburban communities, we're all in this together in this state, and the suburban communities are really not pulling their weight. I am of a suburban community. I am a suburban gal. I mean, no shame. But we really have to step up there. We need housing in every community in the state. No community is an island. So that's sort of my pitch there, and I'll close.
Can I make just one comment?
Sure.
The school population, 10 years ago, 5,000, today 3,000.
Well,
3,500, maybe 5,500.
I raised my family in Hull, and we're consolidating schools at this point. We have 60 kids in our graduating high school class.
Yeah, versus 125 years.
Yeah, we're all getting older. It's happening, guys. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you for all that information. Would love to see that. I actually left you my business cards to make it easy for you to send
no
this
problem.
info. That'd be wonderful. This, I think, is the important part of the program. Now that we've heard all this wonderful information, I'm hoping that we have some great questions for our panel that's here. So if people do have questions, if you could just raise your hand. We are taping this. If you could just, for the record, anyone that goes to town meeting, if you could just state your name and your address, that would be great. So questions, who has questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ray Joyle, 89 Orchard Road in Marshfield, but I'm president of Sowing Seeds here in Marshfield.
Excellent.
We've been around for
Fantastic
a long
organization.
time, 27 years, and we're thought of as being the little clothing bank up on 130. We're so much more. That's the minor piece. The major piece of what we do is called advocacy. In the past 2 years, we have probably tripled the amount of money we've had to give out for rents and for mortgages. We are finding people cannot afford housing anymore. So I guess my first question is, what do we do with the renters? The starting rent right now at Fox Run, which is the biggest, the Villages, is well over $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment.
Right.
I would guess probably half of our clients live at Fox Run. We have many who live at T-Rock. We're very familiar with T-Rock, Prince Grant. We work very closely with the Housing Solutions and with the Housing Authority. But the big issue right now is there is no housing, no affordable housing, never mind ownership. We're talking about rentals. What do we do? I mean, and what can we do?
Who would like to answer that question? As we know, I mean, I'll jump in and then we'll see what panelists would like to tackle that. You know, that's, you know, people say, you know, why are 40Bs targeting Marshfield? They're targeting Marshfield because the demographics say that we need affordable housing. I think as we heard from Katie, we need all types of housing, family especially housing, and we especially want to zero in on that niche 33 to 44. We don't want to lose that grouping, so we want to make sure that there's housing. But, you know, we do have the 40Bs. When the 40Bs come in, you know, a percentage of those have affordable units in perpetuity they have. And for the first 2 years, what's misleading is that the whole, you know, number of units, you know, say it's 190 units, they all count for the first 2 years because you get a moratorium. And then you get the next, so we had the Madison that was completed. Now we have the Mill,
Creek.
Mill Creek.
Mill
Mill
Creek,
Creek, thank you. I was having a senior moment.
like mine.
Thank you, Monty. And so now we have that's been permitted by the ZBA, so there'll be units there. But as, you know, as we heard tonight, that's never gonna be enough. I mean, there are a lot of people that are moving out. You know, we heard about young people that go to school, go off to college, they're not able to come back here. You know, even they get a job. There are plenty of people that we employ as a town, whether it's DPW, teachers, police, fire, entry-level jobs in those departments. Those are good paying jobs, but it's really, with the way the economy is, it's almost virtually impossible to get a house, and there is a limited supply, and houses, anyone that's in real estate, the houses are selling way above what people are asking, even now, as mortgage rates have risen. So with that, let's hear from the professional people. James, do you want to?
One of the things that you brought up was rents. And from what I've seen over the last several years is everyone bases everything off the FMR, fair market rent value, and that's set by HUD. In the last few years, it has been set higher and higher and higher, and they continue to raise it. Right now, the FMR for a one-bedroom in Marshfield is $1,986. The FMR for a two-bedroom is $2,399, and a three-bedroom is $2,966. So as HUD continues to raise those FMRs, landlords, people, prior to the last few years, people never wanted to take a Section 8 tenant into their rental. It was difficult for tenants to go out and find apartments to rent. People were like, no, you have a Section 8 voucher, I don't want to rent to a Section 8 voucher. They were categorizing them as, you know, people that were going to destroy their units, and they were worried about they weren't going to get paid and they weren't going to get enough rent. Now, landlords are drawing to Section 8 vouchers because they're paying such high rents, and you're getting paid on the first of every month. So, well, let me just finish real quick, and then I'll let you. But what I think has happened, and this is my own personal opinion, I think that other landlords have started to raise their rents to these FMRs, and kind of the price of rents are being driven up. That's my own opinion, but.
Katie, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, market rents are even higher. A three-bedroom rental in Winchester I saw recently was $6,000 a month. The FMR is not just a question of HUD going, let's raise the FMR. It's correlated to income. We've had a massive income the discrepancy in incomes in this country is gotten absolutely crazy lately. And when they're dealing with a median income, we've got a lot of people with a lot and a lot of people with nothing, and not much in the middle. So these are big problems. I think what you're asking is, what were you asking? How do we get the rents down?
One of my concerns is that Section 8 vouchers, what I've been told is 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, we need more vouchers. We need more vouchers, 100%.
The other issue is, Martine mentioned the schools. We currently have almost 90 students in Marshfield, just in Marshfield, who are currently homeless.
Yeah.
That means they're either living in cars,
No, that's true.
living in tents, or they're couch surfing.
That's correct.
I mean, that's You know, and many of these have come out of the apartments because they can no longer afford the rents. It's like, what do we do? I mean,
Yep.
I'm one organization in the town, not the only one. We have Good Neighbor Fund, a lot of other who are paying ridiculous amounts of money to keep these people going on a short-term basis.
Yeah,
It's a big market condition issue. The cost of construction is high, the cost of building is high. The landlords want to get paid the money that they have to get paid, their taxes are going up, their utilities are going up, it's kind of like a huge.
Dana?
Yeah,
I
I just want to
And I
add,
want to try to simplify it beyond, because it's a complicated problem, but the solution to bringing rents down is to have more places for people to rent,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
So that's why we talk about zoning, so that housing can be produced, and then actually producing it. So when you are able to create the opportunity to have more homes on a parcel of land, do that. It can mean accessory dwelling units on single-family homes. It can mean allowing 2 or 3 units where you would only allow 1. It could mean where you have town-owned land saying this is where we're going to create affordable rental housing. And then on the rent side, providing more subsidy for people where even the market won't come down to reach those incomes. But rents reflect what people can get. People wouldn't charge rents if people weren't willing to pay it. Someone is willing to pay those rents, and there are people who will never be able to afford those rents until we create more housing opportunities. So I think when you're thinking about how you can do your advocacy, it's saying to your officials in Marshfield, we need to be building more, we need to be creating more different types of housing. And when we have money, we need to be dedicating it to bringing those rents down, subsidizing them, so that people can afford them on an ongoing basis.
yeah, I just want to add that, your organization does great work. Thank you.
We work very close with you.
Yeah,
you guys are terrific.
and I think, just to echo what everyone said, I think even if we had more subsidies right now, we just opened up the MRVP waiting list. We have an office in Kingston, about 10 minutes from here, and we opened up our MRVP waiting list for 250 vouchers. We had 4,000 applications in 3 weeks. And then when we put out the vouchers, we, as was mentioned earlier, how you certify each household and get them ready, and then you say, okay, go out and find yourself an apartment. Well, good luck. There is no apartments.
Right.
So even if you have a subsidy, right now, you can't find a place to live.
Yep.
Or your credit isn't good enough in a lot of the apartments that are available. So to answer your question, I think Katie mentioned it earlier, it's like, what's your housing production plan? How does it match up with your zoning? Are you actually producing more units that are affordable? Are you committed as a town to have affordability the number one priority in your housing production plan? And not just single-family homes, because sooner or later, you're going to wish you did, so.
I didn't realize until I participated in a working group with Rob about the zoning being a true impediment to production of housing, and there's no other answer other than producing more housing. And Marshfield, it sounds like, has an opportunity to work with, the zoning board and to make some changes to the zoning requirements and laws and get that, housing produced. And we do the other side of it, which is managing and helping to maybe work with teams to develop and put together projects that have subsidy layering and project-based vouchers, but we first have to start with building the units. There just aren't enough of them out there, yeah.
And it's actually, the whole Chapter 40B, which is, we're the envy of all the land that we have a 40B requirement here that requires 10% affordable housing. The downside, in my mind, and I see this when we work with a lot of communities, is the subsidized housing inventory and that 10% can turn into a huge distraction, because everything you do, everything in your housing production plan is about sort of blocking and tackling against 40B. You're not really stepping back and going, what do we need here
Right.
other than 10%? What housing do we need? Let's stop you know, so that 10% number, as much as I love it, I hate it, because you're
Yeah.
not done at
No,
10%.
the minute you get there, it
Yeah.
doesn't excuse you from
Yeah.
creating more.
Yeah.
Right,
It shouldn't be
exactly.
viewed as
A minimum.
minimum. It should, your goal should be to have a diverse housing stock. For people
Of
to
course.
thrive and have a great community. And 10%.
You keep telling me that.
It seems like a penalty you're trying to get over. as
Yeah.
opposed to
True.
A goal that you should be trying to achieve. And I get 40B. We don't do 40B developments, but we administer every 40B unit in the region. So
Yeah.
we do the cost recertifications for the households that live there. And then we sell them to new households when they become available. That's every 40B in the region. And I understand that it doesn't, it's a threat. A lot of developers use it as a threat. And so that all the good it causes, it actually changes
That's right. It's-
affordable
that's
housing
true.
into sort of a threat tool or a negative.
Right, it is.
And it's unfortunate because, affordable housing should be viewed as something very positive and something that people should be looking to see happen in their community. And because developers got a hold of it in this way, it's unfortunate.
This is why we're having, we wanted to, the select board and myself and the partnership thought it would be important to start off with something like this so that people understand zoning in our town, that is the big impediment, but in order to change zoning, folks know to go to town meeting, you have to convince the people at town meeting why it's so important to have affordable housing. When I look out at town meeting and I see some of the people that may speak against it, some of those people that don't have it, you think that they would want to have housing, but we have to educate, and it's important that we have more forums like this where, and hopefully more people will come out and to hear about it, because people ask questions all the time. I know I get stopped periodically, why do we need 40Bs? You get into the whole discussion, if we didn't have 40Bs, we'd have no affordable housing, because with strict zoning, as we heard, 1 acre zoning and stuff like that, it would be very difficult, so.
And, 40B, you wouldn't just not have affordable housing, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts wouldn't have a whole lot of housing. It's the leading producer of market rate housing in the Commonwealth, that is a tool. And it exists because it allows some dimensional flexibility that our local zoning laws don't allow. And, it does get abused, people don't like 40B developers, but what other option do they have? You cannot build multifamily by right in the huge majority of communities and of the municipalities in the state. It's not allowed, it's not permitted. Many communities don't even allow it by special permit, so.
Monty?
May I make a comment?
Yes.
We need to find some kind of a carrot on a stick to wave it in front of developers, to tell them that we need you to come into our towns. And every business in our town benefits by increasing our population of people that purchase the services and the goods that we have in town or on the South Shore. And I can't figure out any way where we could get more developers to build on the lands that we have and make it more attractive to them. I know 40B is all by itself an attraction, but there's got to be some responsibility on the part of people who do develop and make and build housing.
But it's zoning, zoning.
I would say that's the carrot, is if you guys zone for the kind of housing that you want to see, developers will build it, because they want to build housing. If you zone for those opportunities, they will want to do it. And if you're the kind of community who's welcoming, who approves those things at boards and commissions, developers don't want to be, generally, don't want to be in communities where there's friction. They want to come into a community that welcomes it.
Right.
And if you also, on top of it, have some subsidy to say, we're also willing to subsidize it and create some affordability if you're willing to build here, that's a huge incentive. So if you have CPA funds, trust funds, developers will come, but you have to zone to allow that kind of development. I think that's the carrot.
Can I say that? And nobody's
Just to
come?
go back to one of the points you made about the town meeting and the naysayers. I need to tell you that 40B, the perception in this town is, if you build 40B, the people who are going to live in those units are all on welfare. That is simply, absolutely
Not
Not
true. I would guarantee you that 90% of the families that we deal with in Sowing Seeds are families who are working 2,
Right.
sometimes 3 jobs to make ends meet. They're not looking for a free handout.
Right.
Right.
No.
But you can't afford rents if you're making $15, $16, $18 an hour.
Right.
But they're hard-working families. They're not people who are on welfare.
Right.
And there are people who want to work.
Yes, absolutely want to work.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi there, I'm Bonnie Owens. I live at 69 Old Main Street, which was probably the last single family to sell for under $250,000 in this town. I came tonight because there's a house at the corner of my street that was in the same condition mine was when I bought it. It's been purchased and rehabbed by an individual, not a developer, is now selling for $1.4 million. And if you look at the listing, it's first floor living with 2 guest bedrooms upstairs. So it's very clear who the realtor wants to buy this house is not a family with kids, it's a retiree. And that's all I see going up on my side of town right now is 3,000 square foot homes for retirees who don't even have children who live in the state. It's very frustrating. I'm a member of that 34 to 44-year-old population who this town wants. I've also been a hiring manager in the food service industry in Marshfield since 2018, and I recently left that industry because it is so hard to find employees. That everybody's just stretched so thin. So, Katie, I wanted to thank you for all the points that you made because those are all of my major concerns. Housing diversity is something that we absolutely need in this town. I grew up in Marshfield, I was born and raised in Marshfield, now I'm back here, and I'm very sad to see that so many of my peers cannot come down here and enjoy Marshfield and everything that it has to offer. For those who can, it's great. I feel like I'm not in a class with most of the people my kids go to school with. What I would like to see happen for affordable housing is some sort of benefits for people who work within the community. I don't know if there's anything going on with the employers in Marshfield. I worked at Proprietors Green for a while. They're an employment powerhouse over there. If we're bringing people into the community, especially if it's families, I would like the young children of those families to be able to participate in the community. Mr. Joyal, I know you said there's 90 homeless kids in this school district. I know that playing soccer isn't at the top of their priority list. But if they're living here and they're working here, I want those kids to be able to participate in the things that my kids participate in. So I guess my question is, are there any employers who are offering any give back or any reciprocal programs at all for the communities to participate in the community, or for families to participate? And what employers are doing anything?
On behalf of the town, I'm not aware of any employees that are offering anything at the moment. There may be, one part of the reason and the rationale to have something like this is beneficial to the businesses that are here. Granted, we only have about 6 to 7% of our base businesses. We're always looking to grow that, but you can't grow that if there are not employees. So in order to have employees, you have to have affordable housing or family housing in general. So, that's why we're having this discussion tonight. I'm not aware, but I don't know if anyone at the panelists are aware of any companies doing that in town. Greg, our town planner? No. Well, we look forward to a bright future that there would be.
But your point is
It's a very
well
good
taken,
point.
and I think your point is not just that your voice needs to be shared, but also employers need to be saying, this makes it hard for us to hire, to keep employees at our businesses. The places that you all love to frequent are not going to be able to continue to operate if they can't attract employees, and those employees want to live here too. So elevating those employer voices, I think, is really important, or your voice in that your experience of having trouble keeping people in their jobs is really important.
Well, the South Shore Chamber has actually been really active in this space over the last decade, and they are so concerned. They had a whole housing focus group that MHP was supporting. You may want to reach out to them. That they're very concerned with the local economy for precisely the reasons you were mentioning.
Peter Foreman does a great job.
Yeah.
We actually traded calls this week because
Yeah.
he had saw we were doing this, so maybe we can, that'd be another phase, and we can have Peter Foreman and his organization.
That would be great. That would be great.
Terry, I know you had a question, sir.
You know, to me, housing stock really proceeds at a very, very slow rate. And I think we as a town have to decide, you know, do we want to be a leader on the South Shore in developing the needed housing stock? And I know that we want to go to town meeting, hopefully to form a housing trust. But then, you know, I also know people are going to say, well, if we increase our housing in town, are we going to have to now build new schools?
We got a lot
I
of room.
personally don't think we will, but I think the select board has to decide, you know, do we want to be a leader? You know, do we want to be the #1 town on the South Shore to say we're going to build the needed housing, whether it be affordable at 80%, 60%, or 100% of the medium income, and create all those types of housing so that we attract, you know, the people that you need for your businesses. We attract other employers so they start to contribute out of their goodwill to all the organizations in town. And we take all the advice and expertise that we have here tonight and we use it. You know, we call upon each of these organizations to really help us create a plan. We call upon our own Chamber of Commerce, the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, and decide, you know, what can they contribute to really creating a plan and then helping us execute a plan. Otherwise, I see us lagging for many, many years in the future, that we, you know, will never meet the need unless we take some bold action.
Thank you, Terry.
Agreed.
It's daunting. It's a daunting challenge, you know?
I'd like to say something.
Yes.
So I think we can all agree affordable housing is why we're all here today. And I can just feel how passionate all of you are, and you go to bed probably at night thinking, and you wake up at 2 in the morning, probably still. And I'm probably like that as well. I know that the planning that we have here in town, and Greg Iman has had a big role in that, and accessory units, for example, the town did encourage accessory units in a single-family home. So we are moving, and you know, things do take time, and it is, as you said, a part of a process of people understanding the purpose and can we agree on one thing?
Yeah.
We can all agree we need affordable housing, so we can move on from that topic and go to the other points that we need to prioritize to get things done. But you know, maybe Greg would like to just. I'm sorry.
We need another Levittown.
It's been he's been quiet over there, and I understand that. But I think that we do need to come together maybe at another later date, Michael.
Yes.
And maybe come with a PowerPoint and really outline the important steps that we need to take. And another 3 months have gone by, another 6 months have gone by, and see where we stand. But if, Greg, because you have a mask on, we can't really see if you're staring at me or...
Tears.
I think Greg's gonna be up at 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, and I'll get a call in the morning. So, but everything you say, I'm always at bated breath to hear what you have to say. So this is a big topic for our town. It's a big topic for the planning board as well, and for going in the future.
So we've heard a lot of comments about zoning.
We have.
I am typically the one that has to go to town meeting and explain zoning changes. Before MBTA communities were passed, I had 14 zoning amendments to town meeting to change housing. We've had accessory apartments since I, as a planning board member in 1987, drafted that and got that passed through town meeting, which took 3 town meetings to get approved. We have inclusionary housing. We have densities of 1 unit per acre, 2 units per acre, 4 units per acre, 6 units per acre, 10 units per acre, and 13 units per acre. But we do it by special permit versus by right. We have 1/3 of the town in a flood zone. We have 1/3 of the town wetlands. Almost 1/3 of the town is already protected open space. We don't have a lot of room of unbuilt land. We have done rezoning for an affordable village, which Martine has 5 times tried to get me to talk about tonight. But the problem with that is the property owner knows he waits 2 more years and he can come back with another 24-unit 40B, and it doesn't matter what we had zoned it for because he can make 4 times the money. So zoning is part of it, but zoning isn't the only answer. On our side, we've updated our land use map. We looked at the community, the MBTA's community stuff. We have not found the simple answer to what is being asked of the communities.
Right, we know that from Marshfield.
We will continue to work on that. We will work on other zoning changes. But there comes a point where zoning isn't everything. So I will leave it at that for the moment.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I mean, and also what you said, for the planner, having been in that seat, bringing these things to town meeting is no picnic. I mean, it's not really it's the town meeting that votes. And it sounds like the planning board and the planner are putting forward lots of good ideas. They have to get passed. And it sounds like you've had a lot of success with that.
And we were able to get the mixed use first in the PMUD district.
Yeah.
We finally got some buildings built, so people were not afraid of them. We moved it into the downtown, which, again, as a planning board member in 1987, I tried to get that zoning through, and it got crushed.
Yeah.
So we are taking maybe small steps, maybe slow steps, but we're constantly trying to, here's a product, this is what it looks like, this is what's going to happen. We do have a lot of accessory units, but we have even more illegal accessory units. We don't go after them and we don't count them because there are no restrictions.
Right.
We had over 1,000 apartment buildings or units built in 1968 and 1969 that we never got credit for. They were affordable. We had all kinds of beach homes that were affordable.
Still do.
No, they have been bought and they have been mansionized. They are no longer affordable.
Right.
So some of these things are completely out of our hands.
Do you feel like some of the special permit zoning is a problem, though? I mean, when people can't do things as of right and they have to go through zoning, and...
I stand by special permit because it allows you to address the site issues.
But the problem...
That's the key. The by right, you might as well just open up the door and say goodbye to the town, frankly. And I've lived here a long time. I am not born here, but I've lived here since 1968. And I have a lot of family members still here. I also hear from people all the time. We have too much traffic, we don't have enough water, we're running out of, there is only so much capacity per town. And that's one of the pushbacks that you guys have to realize on the zoning side of things. That's where people snap.
Oh, yeah.
They look at something and they hear you want another 1,000 houses in town. They're done. They don't want to talk to you. So the stick approach doesn't always work either. And that's why we're continuing to try to solve the problems. They may not be to the scale that other people may like, but at least we're trying to move forward. We have some difficulties with the downtown, but we do have sewer there. We have some difficulties with the Brant Rock Village overlay area because of the floodplain. It took us 5 years to have FEMA correct, in our opinion, improve, was their opinion, their flood maps. Having to raise things up 8, 10, 12 feet doesn't help with the affordability.
No.
Yeah, I'd only just add that I think all the coastal communities have similar problems. Like I said, when I was up there, I think Marshfield's done an amazing job, and is even just having this forum. I haven't been invited to too many others. But I think this has to be viewed as a survival plan. This isn't like an option anymore. It really needs to be a survival for the long-term health of Marshfield and any community here. That having a housing production plan that makes sense, everything that you just brought up needs to be debated, worked out, figured, balanced appropriately, and then have a real plan to, bring in different types of housing here in the community, because otherwise, you will not survive. People can drive their cars around and there'll be nobody here to work anywhere. And this isn't unique to Marshfield, it's everywhere.
Yeah, we're in it
Every
together.
community has the same problem. And, some are getting proactive, looking at the opportunities and trying to do things in a smart way, with consensus, slowly. And I think Marshfield has done that.
Yep.
But I think you need to kick it into high gear and try to really push the envelope for the future of the community. Because it just won't be this way 20 years from now. It just can't survive this way. People will not be working here, they won't be driving all the way down here, they won't want to live in this great community. So that's all I can say about it, because I hear every pain point you just mentioned, I hear in every community. Every one of them. So, every day, every week, everything, same time, same thing. So there's not that they're not true, but they're everywhere. That's the whole problem we're talking about. How do we do this in a smart way? That makes sense. So maybe it is part of a consortium of towns, looking at it and how you do it as a region, more collectively, but something needs to be done because it's really at a crisis point now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Karen.
Mine's not necessarily a question, but a comment. My name's Karen Paulette. I actually live in Plymouth, but I do feel like I live in Marshfield. My heart is here. I've worked with a lot of you, so I thank you for your assistance in helping us find homes for those who are either losing their home because they can't afford it anymore or are homeless. So Rob's been great. That house is working out perfectly. We know the town welcomed a house like that. Went through special permits, and there's different, I think the hard part for us as the ground level is, I would say before 3 years ago, maybe someone knocked on my door that felt like they were losing their home or maybe didn't have a place to live, and that was always my fear. What do I tell this person who shows up at my house, at my door, and says, I'm living in my car, what do I do and who can I call? So I didn't really have to worry about that too much, and I know they were out there, but they weren't so visible. But now it's like they're at my door a lot, and it hit home for me. It's sad, and then I don't have an answer for them. I have worked with the Housing Authority, and I have gotten people in. I've worked with NeighborWorks, and they've all been very helpful. But when you hear the list is 8,000 long, and I'm telling a guy to fill out a 20-page application to be on a list that's 8,000 long, and he's asking me, what, 3-6 months maybe? So I know the crisis is real, and I do appreciate all of you. For us, we look for programs that will help subsidize. Long-term, I have a guy that has, his 2 kids in a 2-bedroom, and he can't afford it anymore. Or he's making $2,000, but his rent's $2,000, and I say to him, well, what's your plan? Because now you don't have anything extra to raise your kids. So that's kind of our struggle, so we rely on you guys for those kind of programs, but this is the first meeting I've been in where you're actually kind of fighting out solutions, which I love. Like, he's passionate, you're passionate. I've been to a lot of these meetings where we go back and forth about housing. Housing's an issue, transportation's an issue, and everybody goes around and says what I'm saying right now. We talk about it being an issue, but with zero real, like, what can we do? And whether it's something that can work for this town or not work for this town. At least it's ideas being thrown out, because we all know through brainstorming, ideas are formed in some way. So this town is very particular. I do know we do have those certain housing buildings, you know, with all the apartments, but there's scattered housing, and like he was saying, there's scattered housing everywhere, and you wouldn't even know they're there. And I think the town takes comfort in everything kind of blending in, and they feel good about that. So I don't know if Marshfield needs to adapt with the areas that it has, and maybe it's smaller houses, but more of them. I don't know, but I just wanted to say I do appreciate you allowing me to come today and to be a part of this and actually making viable changes and ideas versus just telling us what the problem is, because the problem is always housing and it's always transportation. And kudos to you for doing some transportation, because I love that. I think that's fabulous. And I just thank you
It
for
must
all
be
for
like
your service to our town.
Yes, now we just have to figure out how to implement it. That's what we're working on now. We got the money, but.
By lottery, the lottery will do it.
I gotta restrict the casino from trips.
Right, exactly. Medical appointments top priority, yes, yes.
Have them taken to
Yes.
Foxwoods.
I would just say, I think it's really important people hear that, not just in this room, but at town meeting, at all the places where these decisions are being made, right? Our veterans don't have places to live that they can afford. We should be concerned about that. And I think we shared some stats. 54%, I looked up the Marshfield stats that Katie mentioned, this is on Datatown. 54% of renters in Marshfield and 30% of homeowners in Marshfield, just here in Marshfield, are cost burdened. That means they are paying more for their housing than they should be. So it's not just veterans, it's not just seniors, it's not just young families. This is a real issue for everyone in Marshfield, and making sure people hear that. It's not some other group of people that we are trying to serve, it's our community.
Right.
That's important to say, and you shouldn't be afraid that someone's gonna come to your door, but it's gonna keep happening if we don't move some of these solutions forward.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes?
Diane Fronzo, Parsonage Street. I'm also the director of Winslow Villages, just down the street, which is the first affordable housing property built in Marshfield. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of is people that are currently renting, their landlords are selling their properties, they're cashing out, and all of a sudden they've got, 2 to 3 months, they need to find a place to live. The other thing is, it's an elderly population, and they're trying to downsize, and there isn't affordable downsizing. I mean, all these age-restricted condos, start at $500,000 or something like that. So even if, you're on a fixed income, even if you want to buy, downsize into something reasonable, it doesn't exist. So, we've got a very, 250 people on our waiting list right now. And it's just, and we're at 100% occupancy. So it's a very tough market.
You gotta put together a list of people that go to town meeting with you, Greg, and stand behind you.
There aren't many.
Usually when I get up, there is nobody here.
You're all alone. We all pretend we don't know who you are.
We gotta support you. We gotta support you.
I agree.
I mean, I would love to support you guys and do, that's what our municipal engagement initiative is meant to do, is to help build that, give you guys the tools and the resources to speak confidently and with some people behind you at things like town meetings. So I'd love to have that conversation.
And I was going to say this, I have not been to, obviously, a town meeting in Marshall, but I would love to attend one, just to understand and see, and be behind you and stand there.
Notice she said behind you and not
When we were at town meeting for the veterans home, it was almost unanimous support for for.
Yeah.
So I think when people understand what's going on, the plan is clear, it doesn't seem like a threat, it is an opportunity, it can be done. You know, maybe not all in one. You know.
1,000 units in one fell swoop is not going to
Never
happen.
gonna happen.
No,
So, you
no.
know,
Oh, we gotta find some
like I
rich
said, the town
people.
is
Some
done-
rich person
has
who
done
wants
great-
to invest.
great things. But I want to echo what you said right there. We see it all the time where we got downsizing seniors that cash out their house. They're not rich.
Well, we have them call you.
Yeah, but they're not rich. I mean, they have some money to buy something, but they're on a fixed income. They're not millionaires, but they don't pass the asset test.
Right.
Well, and we've had a lot of senior housing built, but they had their market price, and that's what they built at, no matter what we did with the zoning.
Yeah.
We gave them 4 times the density, and it still came out at $670 a unit.
Yeah, and then again, it's the cost of construction, as was
Right.
mentioned earlier,
Right.
but then they can't pass the asset test to actually get into affordable senior housing.
Right.
So they're caught in the middle, where they don't have enough money to buy the market rate senior stuff, and they can't get into the affordable stuff because they can't pass the asset test, even though their income is there, but they just have too much money
Right.
because they just sold their house. So even just that middle market,
Yeah.
that type of housing, like,
Right.
you know, creative ideas like that, workforce housing that comes from mass housing, has supported developments like that too. So there's stuff out there, and if you create the zoning, I think people will come with some creative ideas.
That makes it hard to place people too, because there's so many different houses built with so many different grants. So everybody has their own set of rules, and the problem that I find is
That is
the
true.
hardworking
Yes.
family
Right.
is in that middle. They're not poor enough, and they don't have, but they have maybe too much income, or they never fit in that mold, but they can't make it. You know, and they can't make it, they can't fit into my programs, they can't fit into a federal program, so we rely on like our gift account and the organizations around town to chip in, like Good Neighbor Fund and, you know, wherever we can tap out to keep them in their home. And that's what we're faced a lot is, we don't want them to become homeless. I don't have a program for them, but I have to find them some money. So now we're thinking, how do we get them more income? So, you know, are you a disabled veteran? What can we do to get you more money so you can stay in your home? And it's just a round circle, so it's also, in addition to building more houses, is educating people on the programs that are out there. So I love the one-stop shop stuff, right? So I found out a lot of stuff from you that I didn't know, because it was so fixated on the Veterans House, all the other different programs that you do, and I'll just call you and you can tell me where we fit in. But there's just a lot of different programs that can help keep our residents in their home, and it's just a matter of being educated and spreading those different ways to stay there.
Not enough affordability in Marshfield, or you need to
Absolutely
have a
not.
certain income. There's nothing
One
in the
in
middle
between.
anymore.
It's awful.
Someone else said that.
So you either make it low enough or high enough.
Right.
and there's nothing.
Or quit your job.
How many accessory dwellings are there in Marshfield?
Legally, I think there's about 200 and something. Illegally, probably another 300,
It's not a lot.
if not even more. I mean,
Yeah, it may be more, we don't know.
To have an accessory unit, you have to meet that threshold for an R1, an R2, and an R3, so you need the 40,000 square feet. Am I getting it right?
for the R1 district, you have your minimum lot district, you know.
Yes, and 20 and 10. So
Yep.
if you don't meet that threshold, you
You're not
can't even
gonna-
come to it for a
Right.
special,
I see.
well, you can come.
But you're not gonna-
but-
So some of those are probably the type of things that could
So,
be changed to
yeah.
encourage more people to
Perhaps that's.
make smaller apartments where people. could
But
be-
that doesn't mean that the rents are going to be cheap enough,
Right.
Yeah, but I
because
mean, if
there
you
is
have a
no
small
rent
unit
control
that's
on the
attached-
accessory unit.
Rent control, but if you have a voucher, maybe you could rent it, but if you have a voucher and you can't find anywhere to rent, that's a struggle people are coming up against. So it's not, none of these, I think, is the only solution, but putting them all together, we start to move towards it. But, once someone has a voucher, if they can't find anywhere to rent, that doesn't help them. So partnering all of those things together, I think, is really critical.
But you can use a voucher, so an accessory is still a single-family home.
You could
can
use, if it's a
use
rental unit, you could
can
use a
use
voucher
vouchers.
there. If the rent is
We
eligible
have
and
a guy in
it's,
town,
it's a
Yeah,
Doesn't
a
living-
senior with a voucher could
keeps-
live there.
Sure.
yeah,
building
absolutely.
wings on hospitals with his money, because his name goes on it.
It helps take
Doesn't
some,
have to be
it takes some of the burden off of the.
Wouldn't that be
existing
nice?
rental market
But
as
he
well.
doesn't get the
more you
credit.
have,
You just get criticized.
theory.
Yeah.
You would, free up some other apartments that would have been otherwise occupied by the same folks.
Uh-oh.
Any other questions?
I
Yes?
have a quick question, because I just think the conversation is amazing. I work with Diane at Winslow Village. I'm Carrie Sylvester, and I was a former resident, born and raised in Marshfield. And I had to buy outside of Marshfield and can't get back. But I was just wondering, this is some great conversation and points. What are the plans to do this again? And is this going to be, I mean, because seriously, I haven't heard this much conversation in one place.
Well, Carrie, thank you for asking that question, because that's part of the summation. So before I get to answer your question, I just want to...
I was giving you a sense.
No, absolutely. I just want to say thank you to
Good
Diane.
job.
Winslow Village has celebrated their 50th anniversary. I had the opportunity to go there, tour the facility. And the Congregational Church in Winslow Village, they were ahead of the process 50 years ago to make sure that people could live here. Where do we go from here? The board wanted to have this insightful conversation. This is being taped. We're going to put this up on the website. We're going to get information from the other agencies, put that up on the website. We're going to have sort of a affordable housing in general part of the website. We have holidays coming up. I'm thinking, after the holidays, we don't really have to worry about snowstorms anymore with the warming. But maybe in January, February, we'll get together again to really start to talk about, we had so much information tonight, to really start to talk about, I think to Karen's point, we need to have a plan. Okay, how do we get to where we want to be? And we have to take small steps, knowing how folks are at town meeting. People need to be educated, people need to feel comfortable about what's being proposed. So I think, I'll get something scheduled probably, mid to late January after we get through the holiday season. So, with that, I want to, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen and myself, and I'll let Lynn, Lynn, would you like to offer some closing comments afterwards?
I think this is, no, go ahead.
But, okay, I just want to say, the crisis is real, the challenge is great, and together we can bring solutions for housing in our community because of the people in this room and others that we'll be able to reach out to. So thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Lynn.
So Steve Darcy is our chair and James Kilcoyne, and they are both, sorry they're not here this evening, but I am sure they would echo our, what we've said here today as far as the importance of affordable housing in the town of Marshfield. We want to work together and understand it. And once we understand it, we can set some goals and work with Michael to identify those goals. So I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. And that's it. I think we'll move forward in the end of January and see where this goes.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm so glad so many people
Yeah.
came. I'm nice to see Rob again.
Can I copy them?
I know that.